one of the greatest to ever play the game, certainly at the collegiate level. He's Doug Flutie. How are you, Doug?
Doing good, Rich. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I've been wanting to reach out to you for a while because everybody in the NFL is trying to get in the minds of how we've changed playing this game at the quarterback position. You're a guy who's been looking at this, obviously, for the collegiate level professionally. You played it professionally. And I'm wondering, what do you think of when you hear that Kyler Murray checked a positive box by measuring in at 5'10" and an eighth at the Combine?
I chuckle and laugh and wish I could have been 5'10" and an eighth for a day to get my big check. I think it's the nature of the game now. You know, I met Kyler at Eisen weekend. I thought he was a little taller than that. I thought he was at least a full inch and a half taller than me. And you know, with the spread offenses, the way teams use their quarterback as a runner, now athleticism is looked as an advantage, an asset. And it still comes down to the mental aspect of the game, though. I mean, you still have to be able to win from the pocket. But with the spread offenses, zone read stuff, and RPOs, it's just an asset.
So when you were trying to check boxes to play in the National Football League, I mean, how difficult was it for you? You couldn't change how tall you were, Doug. I'm wondering what it was like for you back in that day.
You know, what I had was the USFL sitting there knocking on the doorstep, so I had an alternative. And when it came to Combine, I had already signed my contract. So when it came to the Combine with the USFL,
right,
I didn't go to the Combines. I was projected anywhere from a first to a seventh. I had no idea what the NFL was thinking. So I took, the bird in the hand. And I think for me, and the bottom line is this, I always thought it was, I've known the game from 5'10" my whole life. I don't know it any other way. This is the vantage point I've had. I don't know why it's going to be a problem at the next level. They never really, I don't think the NFL ever really measured me, or I never ran for them or any of that, because I just kind of blew it all off and went to the USFL. And then when I came back, I got my opportunities to play.
Yeah, obviously, when the Bears, we'll get to that in a second. Did you, when you signed, I mean, you win the Heisman Trophy in '84. I just want to go down this wormhole for a little bit here. You win the Heisman Trophy in '84. Did you meet with the current president of the United States before you signed with the New Jersey Generals? Did that actually go down, Doug?
We talked over the phone a couple of times while negotiations were going on. He was my owner the entire, that year. Whether it was going to dinner or other things, it's kind of weird for me to think now. Herschel Walker and I were both on that New Jersey Generals team. There were a lot of big names on that team at the time, and I mean, from a football standpoint, it was just too much money to pass up at the time. He made me the highest paid professional football player in America at the time. So I just decided to bypass the risk, or what the NFL looked at as a risk, with me, and hung out with Donald Trump for a year and a half.
I bet you did. And then the Bears came knocking on your door, Doug. I mean, what happened there?
What happened there was in the second year, Trump tried to sue the NFL and
right.
for monopoly, and the league ended up not playing. And I didn't become free. I was still under contract, so anything I would sign for was going to be kind of supplemental, or it was going to be. Anyway, so I signed a small deal with Chicago. Chicago traded for my rights with that. LA had drafted me, the Rams. They traded my rights over to Chicago because they were looking for a quarterback at the time, because Ryan was banged up. I went in at the end of the season and played in Chicago.
Doug Flutie here on the Rich Eisen Show. It is just an amazing journey, obviously, Doug, and it's just remarkable to me that that height and playing the quarterback position with a sense of athleticism and savvy and smarts is now a commodity, where Russell Wilson is about to potentially be the highest paid quarterback in the game, and we're seeing a kid who's going to be drafted first overall, and nobody's batting an eyelash about it. It's amazing.
The difference is there are a lot of guys that are undersized, that have success in college and then don't translate. the mental aspect of the game is number one. Number two is the arm strength of a smaller guy. Some guys cannot throw the ball. Some guys just can't. The arm doesn't carry over. When you look at Kyler Murray, he grabs that thing, lets it rip like a baseball. I mean, he just turns it loose. It's a natural throwing motion. He's got plenty of arm strength, can make all the throws. So then the next step is, does he have the mental capacity? The coaches that I've talked to say, with flying colors. So now all of a sudden you got a guy that can be successful, and he's got all this athleticism to boot. So it's going to be exciting. And Russell was that way. I mean, for Russell to go from North Carolina to Wisconsin, or NC State to Wisconsin, and start and star in that one transfer season, he had to pick things up in a hurry. He had to be a leader type. So all those boxes get checked, and then the height's not as big a deal.
Doug Flutie here on the Rich Eisen Show. What do you think Kyler Murray's biggest challenge is going to be then?
The game itself, the NFL and the blitz packages you'll face, and the things that Bill Belichick will do to keep you in the pocket. What Bill always did to me when I played against him, and what a few other coaches have done, they always try to bring five. They're going to bring a fifth rusher. They're going to push the pocket, yell at their defensive end, don't you dare get deeper than the quarterback. If the worst place in the field to be is behind the quarterback. Then he steps up through and he's off and running. You're defending the other goal line, and that's Bill's line. So they try to push the pocket, make you throw out of a well, and have to see through. The idea with spread offenses is now you're spreading the field, you're thinning out the number of people they can bring, and the passing lanes are even bigger. And Drew Brees has made a living being in the shotgun, getting depth, and getting everybody out in the route. You start keeping a tight end in or a back in the block, well, that's two more bodies in there on your side and two more bodies on their side that clutter up the picture. Free release people, get them out.
So what's the biggest misnomer for you quarterbacks who are short in stature, Doug? What do you think?
The height thing can be a problem, but you've played the game from your height your entire life. You've seen it from that perspective. I just don't think, especially if you can get yourself in the shotgun, that the vision is not really that big a deal. And I think that even the tall guys, I remember Cliff Stout on a Monday night game getting 3 consecutive passes batted back in his face. And he's, it was like 6'4", 6'5". And not a word was mentioned of his height. The majority of passes, that get batted down are just, there's a guy, the defensive end didn't get a pass rush, stops scrimmage, and here's the quarterback gets a hand up. So that every quarterback throws between bodies and through lanes. And the big difference where there is a problem, if you have a normal drop back pass where you're doing a full field read and you're over to the right side with your eyes, you instinctively slide and move a little and find a little alleyway to see what you're looking at there and get your read. And when it's not there, I always had to move towards the backside route or move towards the check down to find them and get it down. So once the initial 1 to 2 to 3 isn't there and you're going from front side to back side, a lot of times if you just turn and look, it's going to look like a wall to you. And you got to refine some lanes or move to those lanes. That's the only time that it ever became an issue for me.
Doug Flutie, a few more minutes left with Doug here on the Rich Eisen Show. When you played for Belichick, what's the one thing that you picked up at the very end of your career, tail end? And I'm not just talking about doing a drop kick in a game, which was pretty awesome to see. What'd you pick up from that?
The thing that amazed me was the amount of information Bill would take in a game plan early in the week to prepare his game plan. He has people reading every article. Every comment that comes from an opposing locker room gets read, filtered through. The amount of information that you can pick up from all the interviews the other players are doing and things they say about, a game plan, about they don't mean to be telling it, but there is a lot of information that is given away. That's why Bill Belichick is the most boring interview in the country. Bill is not going to give you one thing. He's going to get on top of his guys not to say a word. be generic, be bland, don't give away information, because there is a ton of information given away. And it amazed me in their scouting reports, in their game plans, how detailed they could be and how right on they could be because of information that came out of a press conference.
Because of loose lips in that regard. Do you have an example?
Absolutely.
Did you remember that you were like, wow, okay, so it was like buried in paragraph 12 of somebody's game write-up from 4 weeks before? I mean, is there something that you could jog the memory where you're like, okay, that was really something?
I can't come up with a specific one there, but I do remember the one on Thurman Thomas being animated. Thurman would always be animated when he's running a screen. He'd like to try to pretend he's in pass protection. So you're pointing out the middle linebacker or the weak side linebacker, that type of stuff. And I played with Thurman. And once I saw it in Bill's scouting report about Thurman, I go, that's dead on. That's right. Every time we had a screen on, all of a sudden he was like really pointing people out and shuffling his feet and moving around and things like that. The information that is left in a locker, coaches always want you to turn your playbook in before you travel to the opposing city, or turn your game plans in. A lot of guys, the worst mistake I ever made, I dropped you have 12 starter plays or 10 starter plays, whatever that is, at the beginning of the game. In Oakland, we jog up out of the ramp through the opposing team's bench and over to our sideline across the field. I get there, we're getting ready for opening kickoff. I can't find my top 10 plays. And I had them in my helmet as I jogged across, holding in my hand. I ran back while the kickoff team was walking on the field. I ran back across the field into the Raiders bench, scurried around the bottom of the bench, found the list of our top 10 plays under their bench, grabbed it, ran back across the field.
So there was almost too many men on the kickoff? Is that what you're saying?
Practically. They were lining up. Like, everybody was lined up for kickoff, looking at me running back across the field. And I had the top 10 plays laying on there. I mean, everything Bill Belichick is about with opposing teams with loose lips and information. And here I am practically giving the Raiders our first 10 plays.
What was Brady like when you were there?
Tom was great. I mean, he's, besides being first in, last out, hardest worker and all that, he had a knack. So, I mean, the football end of it, the IQ, all that's brilliant. But he had a knack for making everybody feel like they were important. Everybody had a piece of this. The guy that's in the training room, he didn't even practice that week. Tom would go in and have a good comment for him of, you did a great job on scout team last week, and you really made us better, and things of that nature. I had a conversation with Tom before an Indianapolis game. We were getting ready for where we were doing some 2-minute offensive stuff. They play this cover two a little too close to the goal line. That one up the rail and stick it in there. And in the middle of a no-huddle, 2-minute situation, Tom checks to a play on the 15-yard line going in, looks at the safety off for a second, and sticks it in the corner of the end zone for a touchdown. He came straight off the field to me and said, that's yours, and which is total BS, because Tom knew what he's done it 100 times before I got there and knew. But he would acknowledge any contribution by anyone on the team. It was pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. Doug Flutie here on the Rich Eisen Show. What do you got for Irish fans after you just eyeballed the team for the spring game this weekend?
Very encouraging. Offensive, defensive lines really strong. Ian Book at quarterback is going to be great. Their linebacker level, very inexperienced, and it will be very scary if Ian Book gets banged up. There is the top number two at quarterback is huge.
Nope. Is you there? We just lost you at the end there.
I'm just saying the number one quarterback, Ian Book, needs to stay healthy.
Okay. That you got to figure out. Okay, yeah, guys noticed you were doing that spring game this weekend. Hey, Doug, yeah. I've always been meaning to ask you this too, apropos of nothing. Did you have any say in what the Flutie Flakes were back in the day? Did you have a? I
really didn't. Other than once we decided on it, I wanted a frozen pizza first of all.
What do you mean?
I wanted it to be a frozen pizza.
What do you mean?
And they came back with, well, our biggest profit margin is on a breakfast cereal. I said, well, I love Frosted Flakes. Well, we'll make some kind of sugar flake. We'll figure it out. And that was about the extent of that conversation, and we sold over 6 million boxes.
Okay. And then when was the last time you had a Flutie Flake, Doug?
Well, they haven't been made in 20 years,
Okay.
so it's been a while.
Okay. Yeah.
There was something online where once they broke the Flutie curse and made the playoffs, a kid broke in a Flutie Flakes box, 20 years old, in a bowl of cereal. 2 years ago when Buffalo made the playoffs?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if after 20 years they probably get soggy in milk after 20 years. Maybe you never know. What'd you say? How much?
We just found them on eBay, Doug. $8.
$8. Wow. The price of the flakes have gone up.
Expensive cereal.
That is.
Expensive breakfast cereal.
Man, you put the cost of milk in it. It's a $10 breakfast right there. Wow. My gosh.
Probably not real healthy, and you're probably heading off to the hospital with 20-year-old twice.
That's great. Doug, really appreciate the call. Let's chat down the line. Anytime you're in Los Angeles, just let me know. But really appreciate the call. Thanks.
Thanks, Rich.
You got it. That's Doug Flutie.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.